Very, 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 very quick recap on the actual kind of question here. Okay, so this, of course, is the assignment. I know I've gone over this, but just so you guys are crystal clear, it's like 1,500 to 2,000 words on the impact of the music industry that streaming and digital vending platforms have made. Okay, so we've looked at the technological developments from the old school Sony Discman all the way up until to more near. We've looked at the business directions and the business models of those things. Now we're looking at this third one, which is the advantages and disadvantages of instant access on the global market that this technology provides. So mainly I'm looking at revenue streams, okay? How streaming generates money. Okay, so I've got to skip forward about 40 slides here, so here we go. So again, the question that we're looking at here is revenue generation for artists and labels, how streaming has affected the ways the music industry generates income. We've established that it's kind of a massive turning point in the industry when things went digital, both technologically and from a business point of view. We haven't expressed or haven't looked at the idea of money yet. So, bit of just to give you an idea, just to give you some facts about the UK economy and the industry. Okay, the GDP for the UK, the entire UK economy is 1.87 trillion pounds. Okay. This is from the government statistics website, so it's about as recent as we can kind of get. The UK industry provides 4.1 billion towards that economy, about 0.2%. To put that into context, the entire GDP of Moldova is 5.2 billion. So we're talking about vast amounts of money here. Okay, if, say, for example, a government in power says that arts don't contribute to the economy, don't know why I'm bringing that up. World economy for the entire music industry, 121 billion. Again, to put that into context, Apple's kind of profits last year were 180 billion. So Apple could actually buy the entire music industry and have 59 billion pounds to spare.
They pretty much own it now, anyway.
Well, more than that, yes, yeah. Definitely. The digital revenue of that, you can kind of see kind of a breakdown of how this represents the different areas of the industry. So the majority of it, as it should do, goes to musicians, composers, songwriters, lyricists. We get a lot of our money from the mechanical side of things. Representation, of course, takes a chunk. And nice to see live music kind of approaching 1 billion. That has steadily begun to increase again. Money in live music has begun to kind of come back. Digital revenue now accounts for 50% of all sales, and it grew by 18% to 6 billion last year. Okay. Taking a step back a little bit. So let's go back pre-digital. This is sales per capita. So this is sales per person. It is American, I'm afraid. It's the best statistics I could find, but there is kind of parity between the UK and the US in this. So it doesn't matter too much. I have converted it into pounds just so we can kind of keep on a level. And so we have two kind of golden years for the music industry in terms of sales. Okay, you had 1978 and you had 2001, kind of what they call the vinyl, and then the CD golden years. Okay, so 2001 was the absolute pinnacle for the music industry. In 2001, the average person in America spent $71 on music. Okay, per year. Okay, that has, as you can see, kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. Okay, the music industry has suffered losses 16 years in a row. Okay, or up until 2016, up until 2015. Actually, it made a profit last year of 0.3%, or it made an increase of 0.3%. So it is bouncing back, but not kind of massively. Okay, even the kind of digital revolution in terms of kind of money spent, it has kind of dropped off, and we'll look at kind of reasons for that in a second. Okay, equally, if you look at where the industry made its money, it was predominantly album sales. Okay, yes, their singles played their part, but from 1973 right the way up until kind of 2001, all the industry did was make money from albums. Singles were there purely for kind of the charts, but the majority of people bought albums. Between 92 and 98%, or sorry, 92 and 95%, people were buying albums. This, again, around 2001 plummeted, and we're now at kind of 68% of industry revenue in 2009 was from albums. Okay, a significant drop-off. As you can see here, regards to the digital revolution, people went from buying kind of 3.8 albums a month down to less than one. Okay. At the same time, Single sales increased exponentially, round about 2001. Remember what happened in 2001? What?
Napster and iTunes and all of that stuff being born.
Yeah. In 2001, well, 1999, Napster was launched. 2001, the iPod and iTunes was released upon the world. And within 10 years, album sales had dropped by over 25%, and single sales had increased exponentially. It's gone from virtually almost nothing all the way up to 3.6 singles a month. Okay. The ethos of the culture of music buying has shifted now. The big disadvantage of that, of course, is an album is about $9.99. A single, 69p. Okay, so although there's been a massive spike in the sales of, hey Tom, come in, mate.
I'm not Tom.
You're not Tom, you're Kane. What's up, Kane?
Are you busy?
No, mate, just chilling.
Are you going to be long?
Yeah,
Okay, well, if you're still around, I'm in there.
I'll be in a bit.
Okay.
So although the numbers are increasing massively, the revenue isn't there because it is not supplementing the drop in album sales. Okay, as we've kind of said, 2001, iTunes, iPod, people blame Pirate Bay, which came a couple of years later, but actually the damage was done by iTunes, and anyone says that music pirates ruined the industry. iTunes had as much to do with it as anything else. Okay. Now, there's a flip argument that actually iTunes are now holding up the music industry. Okay. And well, in a way, they kind of are. Because they took the album foundation out the way, but they are still, I would say, the main distributor of legal downloads. Not the only, but no one downloads from Google Play. No one downloads from Sony Music. Yeah, if you're going to download an MP3, even the thought of downloading an MP3 is a weird kind of concept now. But if you're going to, iTunes is your place. Yeah. I mean, you can see it. So this kind of graph here represents iTunes downloads versus digital revenue for the music industry, and you can see they directly correlate. Okay, there's a slight discrepancy here, but the trend is undeniable. Yeah. In fact, this is Apple's entire pie chart of Apple's entire revenue for the quarter 3 of 2013. That's the best one I could kind of get, but it gives you an idea. 11% of their entire revenue is generated via the App Store or via iTunes Media. Okay, so iTunes Store would be the one there. So you can say that there's some apps have something to do with that, but the majority of it is through this kind of music distribution. Okay, and currently Apple really face no competition for this. As I say, you can source music from other places. We all know where those places are, but if we want to keep it legal and we want to download music to our device, iTunes is really the only place to do it. Okay. So how does iTunes generate its revenue? More to the point, how does it get its revenue to the artists? Okay. So we're going on $1.29 here. It's about 99p. Okay, give or take. Those sales are increasing, as we've kind of said. The money getting to the artist, if you're signed to a label, and I've got some very interesting stats on this, the difference between being signed to a label and not being signed to a label. But let's assume you're signed to a label at the moment. Okay, out of that 99p, direct money to your bank account as the artist, 7p. Okay,
It's not worth it.
well, I mean, you'll have an agreement with your label to have a bit more of that. So the money direct to your account is the 7p, but there should be a little bit more coming from your label. Okay, but yes. It does seem a bit harsh. If you're not signed with a label, like that money does significantly. You get 57p. Okay, if you're cutting out the middleman. As we've discussed, the label does provide significant kind of bonuses in terms of publicity and marketing and just general oomph that you wouldn't get if you were unsigned, and that's what the 50p that you kind of miss out on is going on. Basically.
Whereas I'd rather like 1,000,007p's than like 157p's.
Yeah, there is something in that, and again, I've got some quite interesting statistics on that, and even kind of it's proven kind of. You guys are aware of CD Baby? You know what CD Baby is?
Yes.
So it's a method. It's a third party company that basically puts your music on iTunes and Spotify and that kind of stuff. And 70% of the royalties they deal with come from iTunes sales. So, again, Amazon Music's kind of in there, and Spotify's a tiny little blip. There's a tiny little blip there, and we'll talk about Spotify and their methods and stuff.
I don't know how they can make money for anyone, really.
Who, Spotify?
Yeah, I can see how they make money, but not enough.
Well, more on that in a second.
Cool.
There's things that might surprise you. So, even this model, as successful as Apple are, they're generating an awful lot of revenue from the music industry through iTunes, through what is now Apple Music. But actually, there is a significant argument to the fact that this money is not trickling down to the artists. So there's a story about Taylor Swift. Did you hear about this, where she pulled her music from Apple Music? And to be fair, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I'm not really her demographic. But Apple Music provided a 3-month trial. Yeah. And what Apple were doing is saying, during that 3-month trial, we will not pay any royalties to that artist because we're not generating any revenue because the trial is free. Now, Taylor Swift said, well, then you can't have my music on your streaming service. And to be fair, I got a letter, which I'll share later, that she wrote to Apple, an open letter, basically saying, the reason I'm doing this is not for me, I make enough money, but your smaller artist, your person who is relying on these royalties, you are stealing from them without generating the money that they're over the place. Just because you wish to give it away for free, you have the capital to supplement that. If you're going to give it away for free, you need to reimburse the artist. And do you know what? Fair play to her. She grew in my books, and till I listen to her music. Over 75% of this is going through iTunes. So even with the success of Spotify and Rhapsody and Deezer and all those kind of things, the main outlet at the moment is still Spotify. It's still iTunes, sorry. It is changing. This kind of graph shows between 2008 and 2013 the kind of the growth in these sectors. Downloads is still increasing, up 54%. But if you look at streaming, both subscription-based and ad-supported, we're talking an increase of 367% and 293% respectively. Okay, it's jumping up from subscription and ad support are now reaching about £1.3 billion, or they were in 2013. This has obviously increased since then. So the level of growth is definitely with streaming, and even the thought, like even the sentence, "I'm going to download a song," seems a little bit alien now. Yeah, it seems a little bit like if I want to listen to a song right now, my first port of call is YouTube or Spotify. Straight away, I wouldn't even. I don't think I'm even logged into iTunes on my phone, so it would be more of a pain to kind of do that. I don't know what are your personal preferences for sourcing music? I've never actually asked.
YouTube, usually.
YouTube?
Because I find really interesting stuff. Because it's so much easier to put the not known at all music with the very well known music. Whereas other places they try and keep good, crap. Which I think is kind of wrong, and then you discover really nice stuff. I love YouTube.
Okay. How about you, Annie? What's your...
Spotify, mainly.
Yeah. I'm a Spotify guy. I had it right from when it first came out, and it was that kind of ad-based. How about you? What's your source of...
You know what? This is awful now.
Yeah.
But I feel awful, but I just get my music from iTunes. I just buy it.
You're part. Well, no, you're part of the majority still at the moment.
I know.
Are you with Apple Music? Have you tried Apple Music? Marley, who's one of our students, who's here, she loves Apple Music. She thinks it's fantastic. So it's still through iTunes, but it's streaming rather than downloading.
Oh, is it?
It's like $9.99 a month, and then you can just stream as much music as you
Oh,
like.
you're joking. No. That's really good. I am learning so much in here, I'll tell you.
It's cool, it's so good.
I love it. I'm on stream now, right?
Do it. Well, we'll get into that.
I know this is really wrong to ask, but can I really quickly make a phone call because I forgot to tell people that I was at uni and they won't leave me alone. Because they genuinely think that I'm ignoring them now and it's getting kind of annoying.
Can you send them a text?
Yeah, that can do. Thanks. I didn't want to be rude.
No, it's all good. I appreciate you asking that. So let's go on to streaming services now. So we're just looking at this. So, I mean, it's no surprise that Spotify is still kind of the master of the sector. Okay. Apple Music is catching up, and like the others, I'm looking at people like Pandora and that kind of stuff. But it's a bit like if I'm going to vacuum clean my lounge, I use a Hoover. Yeah, maybe Dyson. Yeah, the branding of Spotify is so strong. You think about streaming music, you instantly jump to Spotify. Okay, again, Apple are doing their best, and there will come a point, I'm certain of it, where Apple overtakes Spotify, but we'll get onto that. Let's talk about Spotify and their revenue generation at the moment. One of the main kind of interesting things about Spotify, one of the things they did very, very well, and one of the things that their business will work, one of the reasons why it works, apparently, is that they get the money first. Okay? So your average music user in America, your average listener, will spend $55 a year on music, just on average. Whereas every premium user of Spotify has to spend $10 a month. So they're guaranteed this income, yeah, regardless of what happens. I mean, they will fluctuate to a certain extent, but 95% of your customer base, it's by direct debit, it just comes out, yeah. So the forecasting and the way they can kind of project how their sales are going to go is much, much, much more stable than, say, something like iTunes, which relies on trends. So people generally spend more money on music in the summer and at Christmas. They buy other people's CDs at Christmas. There's always a spike around Father's Day with the best air guitar album in the world ever, Volume 20. Yeah? But that's it, and they can put the trends. Whereas Spotify, the trend looks like that, because people don't spend more each month because it's one flat rate. Okay, so that is a big plus in that kind of corner. In terms of the way they get that money to the artists, on paper it sounds brilliant. 70% of their music goes to the rights holders. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hold fire.
Necessarily the artist.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Explain your work.
You have absolutely hit the nail on the head. The rights holders. When you sign to a label, what is the first thing you sign away? Your intellectual property.
Your soul and everything.
You got it, yeah? So there will be an agreement with your label where this filters down to you and you get money from it. But that's why the first thing they do is get you to sign over your thing. I mean, this isn't anything new, guys. Yeah, when CDs were sold in shops, it was actually less than 70% going to the rights holders. So, you can't grumble too much about that. And in fairness to Spotify, if you compare them to other streaming services, per million listens, they are double the next one down, which is
$41 to go on the radio.
yeah, per million listens. Yeah. Bear in mind, a million listeners on US terrestrial radio is nothing. Yeah, you play a track at 3 a.m. in the morning in Dallas. There's probably 1 million people listening to it. Do you see what I mean? So it's easier to get 1 million listeners on the radio.
But it's still only $41.
It's still only $41. Yeah.
That would not cover my council. I'm not council tax exempt because the government don't like me, and I'm not classed as a full-time student, which is a lie, and I can't afford it. But sorry, that's just a gross.
We'll talk about that later, because technically you are a full-time student.
Yeah.
Have you got a letter from the college?
Yeah,
We'll talk about that later. Okay, so the formula they kind of employ, and this gets a little bit kind of heady, so I'll explain it, and I've got the kind of formula here so you can kind of see it. Okay, so they take the money that they get from their monthly revenue, so the majority of which is a monthly subscription, but there are still some ad users that kind of generate from advertising. Okay, they divide the number of artist streams by the total number of streams that month. Okay, they then pay 70% of that number to the artist. Or they find out who the artist is kind of signed to, and they send the kind of royalty there through the PRs and that kind of stuff. And then the right holders, the labels, or whoever it is, negotiate their money to the artist. So out of that 70%, say for example, it's a 50-50 split between artist and label, which is kind of a standard 35% goes either way. Okay. So that is a very simplistic way of looking at it from this kind of point, because depending on the terms and conditions of your contract, that could mean anything. And if there's recoup clauses in there, you may find that actually the artist receives nothing until they've recouped their advance. You may find that there is no label, and actually that 70% is going to think more than that in a second. But that's a simplistic view of how the artists receive their money. On the one hand, very, very good, because if you read any of Spotify's kind of promotional literature, which I've got a couple of websites in the bibliography that kind of do that, they're very much like, we pay $2 billion to our artists, we support the artists, it's all about the artist, man. But they're very careful with this term. They refer to rights holders, they refer to it as intellectual property. Because to someone who's not in the know, you go, oh, intellectual property, that's the artist, great work, but it's not, it's whoever has that legal kind of ownership. Okay.
Sneaky.
So let's talk about Spotify. Spotify has never made a profit. Never.
How are they still going?
Because they do generate revenue, they are making money, but they are spending more than they are making.
Then how are they still alive?
Because they're loaning money and they are making it. And again, it is believed that 2017 is the year in which Spotify begins to make a profit.
Oh, so it's kind of like they've been investing in themselves very close to the line for a while, going, please, please.
Very close to the line, I would say £120 million over the line.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. They are generating revenue. So it's not like they're just hemorrhaging money and they're not making anything back. They are actually generating revenue, and this was up back in 2012. That has continued to kind of step up, but the outgoings kind of outweigh the income. Okay, that is steadily increasing. There's a very good article here, which I'm kind of giving you a synopsis of it, but basically. The reason the initial costs were necessary is to infiltrate the world market, because one of their arguments was there's no point in Spotify working in one country. It needs to be worldwide to give access to as much music as possible. So accessing those markets requires a great cash injection to access those markets, because you need the actual licenses themselves. Generating fair deal for artists, that's in there. I'll let you guys weigh up that in your essays. And to create a workable relationship with the big three, because the big three would not have released the rights. As we've discussed before, the big three, the labels, are still very, very suspicious of anything internet-based, and so it took a long time to negotiate this deal. As a result, kind of, costing them better money. Some argue that the labels are kind of holding revenue streaming services to hostage because of that 70%. If the music industry were to budge and say take 60% rather than 70%, Spotify would have been making profit 2-3 years ago. Okay, but this article they interviewed one of the kind of board members of Spotify, and he's saying they're about to turn a profit. Now he is a board member of Spotify, so he's unlikely to go to a press conference and say, "Yeah, we're about to go under, guys." So again, I'll let you guys weigh up that, but this is the counter argument. This is the second point. So if you are talking about how Spotify isn't making any money in your essay, it does say advantages and disadvantages to kind of throw this through.
I must say I had no idea Ross Kemp ran Spotify.
He does look a bit like Ross Kemp or a bald David Gray, I think. Anyway, there's an interesting video here. I'm not going to play because it's about 20 minutes long. It's an American debate show where they're talking about the life of an artist. About kind of 7-8 minutes in, they discuss musicians for about kind of 7-8 minutes again. But it's well-informed data that's up to date, and again, it is American, so you have to kind of do some conversions. But the business model is the same in the US as it is in Europe, so you can transfer this right across. So it's worth a little bit of a view when you have the time, okay, and when you're kind of doing this. This is the thing I want to kind of show you, okay? It's quite hard to see, so I'll explain what it is. This is a chart, and it goes over kind of 4 or 5 slides of what you have to do across different platforms to earn a US monthly minimum wage of $1,260, which translates to about £1,000 sterling. Okay, so it's quite an interesting thing. Start at the top. So self-distributed CDs, old school. You print the CDs, you record them, you burn them, you distribute them, you sell them. If you sell 105 a month at £12, you earn minimum wage. Doesn't sound too complicated. I mean, 105 a month,
I think that sounds horrible.
that's over 3 a day.
At 12 quid as well.
12 quid. Again, that's $12, so it's about $9.99.
Still, I don't know. When I see buskers selling the CDs for £10, I kind of go,
Yeah. It gets worse. Okay, so let's move down the kind of thing. Okay, we've got things like CD Baby and Bandcamp and those kind of things, which are around about the kind of 100, 150. Hey, so around about the 150, 175 kind of mark, selling them at £8.50 or £7.20.
Oh.
Again, kind of doing that. Yeah. I want to just draw your attention to kind of the iTunes ones, signed and unsigned. Okay, so an album download to an unsigned artist, you need 182, which is kind of comparable with this. Okay, it's slightly higher than substitute, but 182 kind of works. If you're a signed artist, okay, same service, You need to sell 1,128. So that is a
It's like 9 times.
Yeah.
It's 8-ish, 9-ish.
8-ish, 9-ish times. Yeah, my maths isn't going to have to work out the exact figure, but significantly more to earn the same amount at $9.99. That is how much that label is going to take you. Now you are correct, and you would be correct to say this in your essay. You are more likely to sell 1,000 or 1,800 albums if you are signed to a label than if you're not, because you have that wider kind of spotlight on you. But it doesn't guarantee, just being on iTunes itself doesn't guarantee anything. Okay, so it's just kind of worth kind of logging on that.
Just harder work at the beginning, really. If you don't get signed, just put in more effort at the beginning, and then once you break into that, you'll go over and you'll make mega profit.
We're going back to that theory of the 5,000 fans thing we looked at last week, week before. That puts us back in this territory, yeah? Back in the self-produced, self-something. And, you know, if you're self-producing CDs, you're going to put it on iTunes and Spotify and that kind of stuff. So there's going to be kind of multiple streams going on here. But if you've got your 5,000 true fans, and they're going to spend £10 a year on you, you're smashing this minimum wage thing, yeah? It's generating the fan base that's the key here. This is what I'm kind of trying to show you over the last few weeks. It's not necessarily about getting it to be sold, it's generating the fan base. That's the tricky bit. Once you've got the fan base, they will spend the money. Yeah? You guys have artists that, regardless of what they put out, you will buy it.
£35 tea towels.
£35 tea towel.
Love it so much though. I keep it in the envelope, and when I own my own house, I'm gonna put it on the front of the oven and never touch it. Kean Henson.
Well, you have a £35 tea towel.
It's not even signed or anything. It's just a tea towel. That's literally it. I love Kean Henson. Every T-shirt as well. I'm like, I must have it.
Okay.
But that's the point. I didn't even bat an eyelid. I was like, yep.
Fair enough. But again, it proves the point, doesn't it? There are certain things that, like, once you are locked into that, like, true fan area, regardless of quality,
T-shirts, everything you
Yeah.
can think of.
if your favourite artist puts out an album and every review you read goes, my God, this is the worst piece of rubbish that anyone has ever released ever, you're still going to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're still going to buy it. So it's not about the distribution network, it's about the fan base. It's just important you guys know this, okay? It does get worse. So let's talk about streaming services. So Beats, the Beat streaming service. Everyone ever used the Beat streaming
I
service?
didn't even know it existed.
Nope. For a signed artist, a mere 43,726 plays a month to achieve minimum wage. If you're unsigned, it's a little snap, 6,996.
So just like 20 computers, all on repeat. You're fine.
Yeah.
Cool. I can do that.
So your initial outgoings are 20 computers.
Yeah, pretty much.
You see, yeah.
And 20 things on Spotify.
Moving on to Google Play, these are getting a little bit worse. Google Play, 172,000 for a signed artist, 70,000 for an unsigned artist.
What do you mean by a sign up? You mean that's
To assign to a label.
Google Play don't have their own label, do they?
No. So, say for example, you're signed with one of the big three. You're signed with Sony, Universal, or
Oh right, yeah.
like Warner Bros. Because of the cuts that they're taking, the number of plays you need to achieve minimum wage. Yeah, McDonald's pay better than this. Yeah.
Oh, I see. To pay, how much was it? How much did you say?
For Google Play, 172,000 plays a month.
You'd have to get to achieve the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Right.
And it gets worse. Okay. Because Deezer, which is probably other than Apple Music,
Over 1 million!
1,044,430
A month.
a month for a signed artist. A mere 94,000 if you're unsigned. Okay. And then that brings us to the big boy, Spotify. 1,093,750 plays, or 192,000 if you're unsigned. There's one for YouTube as well, and the circle's so big it doesn't fit on the slide. 4.5 million views on YouTube for a signed artist to achieve minimum wage.
What about unsigned?
Unsigned is about
What do
400,000.
you mean by unsigned at the bottom?
So if you uploaded a video now of you playing keys and singing, or playing keys or whatever, and it got 400,000 views, that would generate enough money for you to receive a check of about £1,000 a month.
So what?
Basically, don't get signed to a label.
Oh, I see.
Because they'll steal all your
Well,
money.
I don't get that because sign on.
Okay, so you're signed to a label.
Surely you'd sign label, you think that you'd get more plays or something.
Well, this is the point, isn't it?
I don't
being
understand
signed to a
why it
label-
makes a difference in how many plays.
Being signed to a label will give you access to more publicity, a larger fan base, greater resources in which to generate your fan base and generate the amount of listens you get.
Yeah.
So, but that comes at a cost. The label doesn't do it for free. So for every one of those plays, the amount of money you receive the artist is significantly
I mean, as in
reduced.
because you're only getting a percentage of that
You
main
got it.
amount.
You
Whereas
got
if
it.
you're unsigned, you then basically you're getting whatever you're getting.
Absolutely. Which brings us back to our question, okay? Which was 64 slides ago, right at the beginning of this this whole thing. So assessing the advantages. So this whole thing is about assessing advantages, disadvantages, essentially. Okay. In a nutshell, and you're going to have to bleed this out for 1,500 to 2,000 words, so don't wrap it up as quickly as this. Okay. The label still has a function in our music industry in terms of giving you access to a fan base. Okay. Not nearly as important a role as it used to play because the gatekeepers have the gates have been opened due to digital media. Okay. However, being able to generate revenue yourself is the way this industry is going. Okay. Depending on how doomsday your outlook is, it could be that the music industry is completely disintegrates and it turns into a bunch of amateurs just going around playing music like they used to. I don't think it's going to go like that personally. I always think there is a need for quality music. There's an awful lot of music on the internet. Not all of it brilliant. Yes?
No.
Bath College Music Department playthrough videos,
Just
for
to,
example.
can I just jump back
Crack on, mate.
just a split second? You know when you're saying about the unsigned, I get it. I mean, I get what you're saying, the unsigned and the signed part. But I mean, if you're assigned up to a label and you're doing really well, like, I mean, obviously not like Sia or something like that. You're a bit slightly lower.
Mhm.
Does that mean that they still have to achieve the same thing? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, regardless of the let's go back to these numbers. Regardless of
I think of it as like...
I mean, say you were like Sia, say for instance, you know.
regardless
that might be
if
slightly
you're
different.
Sia
I mean,
or if you're me, yeah.
Yeah.
If Sia received 1,975,000 plays a month on Spotify, she will receive a check for £1,000. If I sign to my label, get 1,093,750 plays, I will receive a check for £1,000.
Right.
Okay, and regardless of which label you're signed for, and again, this is based on your average label deal. Sia will
Yeah.
probably be on a slightly better deal than me.
Yeah.
Yeah? I'd imagine she's got a bit more negotiating whack and a stronger legal team. Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's probably been able to negotiate a slightly better deal. But your average Joe, your average person, your
Yeah,
average
yeah.
artist. Okay. Now, this is not taking into account any advance or recoup clauses within the contract.
So what sort of percentage do they take? I mean, like average.
Well, to give you an idea, the signed to unsigned is give or take about 10 to 12%. Okay, so if you need 1 million views, if you're signed, you need 192,000.
Wow. Yeah. I see.
If you're unsigned, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's that thing of getting 192,000 plays a month if you are unsigned
Yeah.
compared to 1 million if you're signed.
Okay.
Which one is easier to achieve?
I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah.
But you can go back.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Yeah,
talking about the population of a small city a month,
Yeah.
or several small cities. You know what I mean? Like a month
lot.
listening to you more than once. Yeah. Okay. Yes, you could argue that you might have one really, really hardcore fan that listens to you 50,000 times, but unlikely.
You need 4 of them.
And you need 4 of them. So basically, you need to kidnap 4 people, lock them in a house, and just spinal tap them your music for the rest of time. Yeah. So when you guys are talking about this in your essay, okay, it goes under 3 different criteria, but how you guys structure this is completely up to you. For me and my kind of linear brain, I'd have 3 headings. and I just work my way down it. That's how I do it. If you want to chuck it all together, I'm totally fine. Okay, I'll sift through it if that's what you want to do. I strongly recommend when you do this essay, watch the videos that I've uploaded and look through these sites, because particularly the second one, there's a couple of videos that I didn't play you guys that are really rich and full of information. The debate that's at the end of this one, really good resource, full of up-to-date current data, because a lot of the data that I've had to give you, just because of the way I've had to source it, is from a couple of years ago. The trends are still there and you can still see them, so it's not like it's useless, but that video particularly there, that one right there, it was broadcast about 3 or 4 months ago, so it's as current as we can kind of make it. Okay. If you want to kind of throw in a broadcast there, the general kind of from a research, the general vibe from the industry is that, as I say, Spotify are going to start making a profit. These album sales are still gonna fall off a cliff, to the point where labels are now beginning to ask the question, like, is it worth putting out albums?
Yeah.
Well,
No, not for a label, because they don't care about the actual art behind it. They care about the money and the revenue. Oh yeah, another reason why I don't like labels.
I am totally with you on the non-label love. Totally with you. However, please refer to this criteria, because it is about forming an argument.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't mind if your argument is that labels suck, but you have to fight both corners.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I can't just have an
I
anti-label.
can make up some feelings.
Well, I mean, the point is, I mean, the facts are there, and it is a very easy point to argue that labels do still play a role, because they have access to the media, they have access to these things. Okay. Yes, you have access to them as well, but the BBC are much more likely to put on to use a track on Top Gear as like a background kind of incidental non-diegetic thing from a label than, no offense, dude, you ringing them up, going, hey, I'm James Parsons.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, can we have lemons and lemonade on Top Gear? Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Having a dream.
yeah, that's basically that would be where I'd put the cornerstone of my argument
Yeah.
if I'm going pro label. I've tried to not load this in the anti-label camp, but I think just by default it kind of is. So apologies for that. But I've always tried to kind of give a counter argument to that. Okay. Have you got any questions about the essay itself or the kind of content I covered over the last 3 weeks? We've got about kind of 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
left.
I need you to have a look through my essay, because I'm
That's cool.
really quite stuck in the moment.
That's fine. This whole session, I'm here until 8:30. I would prioritise your
Yeah.
submission for this over anything, because the
Yeah.
competition stuff is stuff you're doing for
I mean, I
cancer.
went through. I did actually show it to Kat, and she gave me a few pointers about because it was just in our lesson. And
Yeah,
I thought,
sure.
You know, give it which I've sort of tried to use, but there's still other bits that I'm just sort of. It's actually one of the hardest ones out of the lot. And all the other essays I'm. But this one, it seems to be. I don't know. I'm staring into a blank screen.
I'm not going to lie, the content on this one, compared to something like the genre that's or whatever, the content on this one is it's quite dry. Let's be honest. None of you came on this course because you were really intrigued about the ever-changing business model of the music industry influenced by streaming. Yeah, that wasn't our reason for coming here. Yeah.
I say more so than the genres. I don't need to know genres of music. That's what I've been doing my whole life by listening to music.
Yeah. I mean, I'm slightly biased because I'm the one that made the presentation, but this stuff is incredibly useful. This whole game that you guys are playing.
No, it's very useful to know. I mean, it's useful.
This whole game you guys are playing is to access the music industry. And the best way to do that is to understand the beast, understand the enemy. Because, unfortunately, you guys are the commodity. Yeah? You're the stuff in the box. So, you need to know how to sell your own box.
And we're almost the guinea pigs as well, because it's forever changing. By
Yep.
the time we even say it took us like a year to get to a place with we have all of this, whatnot, it's going to change. It's going to be changed. Then in 5 years, it's going to be changed. So we kind of have to have a good foundation of knowledge
Yeah.
to know how it might go.
If you look at the trends, I mean, I have a B grade GCSE in business studies, which is what qualifies me to make this statement. So.
I'm very proud of you, Adam.
Thank you, man. I've worked hard on that. If you look at the trends, okay, we've seen it. Album sales are down, single sales are up. Artists now generating more revenue from live performance than they did a few years ago. Okay. Weirdly, people aren't going to as many local live shows, but that kind of mid-range kind of thing is beginning to kind of come back. So the hard bit is accessing that. Okay, any bigger you get label interest, in which case that's a whole different kind of thing. Any smaller, and you're going to be playing the Horse and Groom in Westbury on a Sunday evening for £40. Gives you an insight to how successful my music career is going at the moment. So yes, it really is dependent on you guys and what you want to do with your careers. I can stop this now because I'm going to get all a bit kind of mobbing.